Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Take Your Medicine. This is my co host, Billy, who likes to stand right in front of me. Huh? You are so funny. Can you lay down? How about lay down? Be part of the club, but not right in the middle. Oh my gosh, you're so funny. You're so funny. She's so playful. There you go. There you go. Lay down all the way, even your butt. Um, yeah, she's my favorite part of this show. It's been fun doing this with her. She's a wild one. We love her. And Bennett, can you come here and say hello? Bennett, come here. Hi, Benz. And this is Bennett. And he is our Yorkie mix. And they are both rescues. And they're both mostly vegan. I make their food homemade vegan with lots of vegetables and grains. And then we sprinkle a little non-vegan dog food on the top of it. So that's what they eat. And this one's old, but he acts like he's young. We adopted him 10 years ago, and he was extremely sick when we adopted him. But he just seems pretty healthy now, huh, Bennett? He's pretty full of energy. We love him. He's very needy. He's terrified of fireworks, that's for sure. He becomes crazy when there are fireworks or thunder. I don't know what happened in his, past lives or in his life before we adopted him, but he has major fear and major anxiety about a lot of things, especially fireworks and thunder, huh? But we love you. So today is episode 31. Heyo. So grateful we made it to 31 episodes. This has been something that is way outside of my comfort zone, sharing these things. And so I'm grateful that I've just continued to do it because I have grown a lot through this process. Wipe my nose. So today I wanted to continue talking about my most recent medicine journeys. Yesterday I spoke about night number 1, which was Monday, June 10th in Sedona, Arizona. And today I would like to talk about night number 2, which was just as magical and just as special. And just like when I was talking yesterday, I want you to know that there are definitely parts that I cut out of the recounting of these stories, because there are spirits and guides and friends on the other side that are just too sacred for me to discuss and talk about. But these experiences are some of the most magical, beautiful, life-changing experiences. So I want to share them in hopes that they help you. And maybe if you are feeling called to medicine work, this might give you a little bit of insight into what that might lead to. I don't know. Ben, it's all over the place right now, little hunter. So let's see. I have my notes here. One of the first things I learned in both nights was that Sedona is a really powerful energy center on the earth. And I personally have had some of the most powerful experiences of my entire life in Sedona. I've always heard that the extraterrestrials love Sedona, that there are a lot of UFOs there, that there are powerful energies and vortexes there. And I felt called there many times. And so when I was first starting out on this medicine work a few years ago, I took my car and put a futon, put all the seats down in the back and put a futon in it and covered all of the windows with scarves and blankets. And I just made a temple out of my car on the side of the road, or at, a place in Sedona where it's just full of nature. And I journeyed by myself in my car, and I was feeling so strongly called to the medicine that that is what I was doing, because I had a house full of children. And so on AJ's days off, I would go, and I would go maybe like once every 2 months or so. Every time the calling just felt strong, I would try and make a time to go. And it was wild. Like, I look back at that time and I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. I don't even know if I would recommend that, but I just felt so strongly called to this medicine, even though I was really afraid and worried, because I've always had a major fear of the unknown. And there's nothing like taking some medicine and having no idea what you're in for. I have learned a lot about faith through this work. You know, when I was a Mormon growing up, we were taught a lot about faith. In, you know, faith is a belief in things that are not seen. And now I have a new level of understanding of faith. It's like taking the leap and just trusting that this medicine will hold you and heal you and give you the insight and understanding and compassion or forgiveness or perspective that you need. And every single time I have had the faith to partake of this medicine with intention and with reverence and with gratitude, I have been greatly rewarded with a lot of healing and a lot of higher perspective and growth, personal growth, and within my family and my relationships. I feel so greatly blessed by the choice to walk into the unknown. So I don't know if it's for everyone, but I do believe that the medicine kind of calls to you. And when it does, you know, when you are brave enough to heed that calling and do it in the right way with intention and reverence and respect, you know, I don't believe in a bad trip. I believe that with intention, setting, and the proper dosage, every experience is infinitely valuable. It is, even if it's an uncomfortable experience, it is meant for our learning and our growth and our expansion. So then in my dream last night, I had a deeper understanding given to me about Sedona as an energy center. I was being taught in my dreams last night that not only is Sedona a very powerful energy center on the earth, but that there are many energy centers all around the earth. And it was given to me in the analogy of the human body, that the heart is a powerful energy center, the brain is a powerful energy center, the lungs, the kidneys, the pancreas, the liver, the intestines, all of these organs are powerful energy centers in our body. They all have different purposes. And just like our human bodies, the earth is a body, and she has kind of like organ centers as well, where there is a lot of activity and a lot of energy going and coming all the time, flowing out and in. And so in the human body, all of the organs need to be harmonious one with another. They need to not be working against each other. And so with the human collective right now and all of these energy centers in different countries all around the world, we are at odds with each other, and there is not harmony with the different energy centers of the body of the earth. And that is a problem for the earth. Now, there are many aspects of these energy centers that are harmonious with one another. The only aspect of these energy centers that isn't are the humans. And we are like, just like the insect collective and the plant collective, and each collective in nature has its own purpose. The humans are a collective species. They're like a neural network, all connected, and they are each individual neurons. And those neurons, it's almost like an autoimmune disease where the cells are working against themselves and hurting themselves with their actions and their behavior. And so the earth it would like for, based on my understanding, the earth would like for the humans to be harmonious with one another, so that all of the organs of her body can work together the way that they are meant to, and there can be harmony on the earth. And so I thought that was really interesting. I've never really thought about the earth as a body with organs or energy centers, but just like our bodies and just like all of the bodies of the insects in nature, they have really powerful energy centers. Our heart, I would say, is probably our most powerful energy center. There are neurons that connect the brain and the heart together. There is so much electromagnetic energy going through the heart, and it is a beautiful thing. And if the cells of the heart started working against each other, the heart would not be beating properly. And so it's really important that we, as individual neurons in this neural network of humans, do our own personal work. The only way to create harmony is to go inside each of us ourselves, to do our inner work and to find peace and healing. And as we do, we find peace and healing with the entire human collective. So I thought that was really interesting. You know, so we journeyed on Monday, and then we had all day together, and we were just out. We went to the Buddhist temple and had a beautiful experience, just sitting and meditating for quite some time at the Buddhist temple there in Sedona. Such a beautiful place. And the birds were absolutely beautiful there. There was a red cardinal that kept making an appearance that was just melting our hearts. And there was this beautiful bird that we looked up. It had blue on it. It was so pretty. And we finally figured out that it is called a mourning dove, mourning dove. And then just a few days after that, one of my children told me that he had just looked up this bird, and it was called the mourning dove. And that just felt like a synchronicity. Like, the bird collective is so powerful and so beautiful. And I'll speak more about that as I go into the journey. But after the Buddhist temple, we decided to go into the crystal store, one of them. And it's probably my favorite crystal store. I've been there so many times, brought the kids there many times, in Sedona. It's called Crystal Magic. And we walked in, and oh my gosh, I have never felt so much energy from crystals in my life. It was so powerful. I was having to ground myself by just holding on to AJ's arm, because I felt like I wanted to leave my body. It was so powerful. My entire body was vibrating, and I was feeling so much beautiful, powerful energy from these crystals. And the night before, a lot of attention was brought to this crystal labradorite that was on my heart center. It was, conveyed to me multiple times that crystals are very powerful. They hold energy. They can be used as mediums. They can be used as spiritual tools, but they are only as powerful as the intention and as the work done by the person who's handling them. And also, they impressed upon me that it is not necessary to buy a bunch of crystals. Go out and find them in nature. Connect with even a rock is so powerful. The energy of rocks is incredible. But they impressed upon me that I have no need to go out and buy up a bunch of crystals, that is not their intention, that, one will do, or the ones that you already have are just fine. And so that was good too. I don't want to go overboard in buying up a bunch of crystals, especially since so many of the crystals that are sold at these crystal stores are inhumanely acquired. So we want to be really aware of that. So on night number 2, I decided to take significantly less medicine than AJ than I normally do, because I am just getting to a place where I don't need much. It is simply a gateway to open myself to these higher dimensions and these collectives and these beings. And so I felt pretty strongly that I needed only about half of what AJ was going to take. And so I did that. I took a little bit more than half of what he took. And within 15 to 20 minutes, my body started jolting. And that is usually my very first sign that these beings are starting to enter my body, is that I just uncontrollably start jolting. And AJ, he, for the first 90 minutes of our entire session together, didn't really experience much of anything, because these beings showed up so powerfully for me that he felt the need to ground me and hold me and just help me get through the first 90 minutes with these beings. Because Jesus Kate was the first to arrive as my body started jolting and I started seeing her, and she went straight to work, as she often does. She usually has quite the agenda of things to work on, things to teach me about, and this was no exception. So she got right to work, starting to work on my body, and it was brutal. The first night, as I mentioned yesterday, I was standing up most of the time. I was channeling these beings. It was very fluid. The second night, they had a lot of procedures to perform on my body. And that is something that is really, really, really difficult to get through. It is not easy to experience the extreme discomfort of the work they are doing on my body to clear me, clear me, clear me. But Jesus Kate just kept saying, it will be worth it. I am preparing you. It will be worth it. I know how much you can handle, and you can do this. And so, AJ asked me multiple times, like, are you okay? Do you want to keep going? Because anytime I say stop, that's enough. They will stop and they will retreat. But as much as it feels like total spiritual and physical torture, I have a deep knowing that this is something that is good for me and that I need to get through. And so every time AJ would ask me, are you okay? Do you want to keep going? I said, yes, I want to keep going, but it is just so much. It's just so difficult. And more than ever, but AJ's always been so supportive, but more than ever, AJ had so much empathy for what I was experiencing as I was going through these procedures, because there's no way to describe what it is. But the best way I can describe it is like going through natural labor and delivery multiple times in a night. And it is very, very, very difficult to get through, and it's very exhausting on the physical body. And at the same time, it gives so much energy to me. In the day after and the following days, I feel lighter, I feel renewed, I feel like I'm more grounded, I feel more like I'm processing things on a more elevated plane, where I can see things from a higher perspective and reasoning and all kinds of different functions that are, struggles to get through in the human existence. I feel like I am doing better and better every single time I go through these procedures. And so I've just learned to trust them. And they assure me, just like I mentioned yesterday, that they are aware of every part of my physiology as they work on me. They know what I can handle. And Jesus Kate had no mercy this time around. I mean, sometimes she just gets in there and she's like, you're fine and you can handle this. And so we got through it. But AJ, having taken almost twice as much medicine as me, still just was my grounding influence, because again, it is not the medicine that is doing this to me. It is the medicine that opens me very easily, opens the floodgates of these beings just kind of coming in and working on me and helping me to accept this as kind of my purpose, part of my purpose on this earth, and to merge these worlds. This entire evening was full of them trying to kind of like merge Toby and merge these beings and make them one. And it's just like, it just feels like torture. But at the same time, it's glorious. And I told him so many times, it's so much, it's so difficult, but I'm not complaining. I don't want to complain. And again, I say, I don't want this to sound like complaining. It is an honor and a joy and a privilege to experience these things with these beings. And it is also a great challenge. But it's something that I'm very grateful for. So let's see. They worked on my womb and my stomach. Just like I said yesterday, they were bringing so much attention to my womb and my stomach. And this was no different. They were saying I have so much fear in my solar plexus, and worked so much on that. I just feel so much energy going in and pulling from, and it's such an experience. And as Jesus Kate was working on me, I was asking, where is Ebert? I want to see Ebert, because this time we were in the dark. Yeah, the night before we were in a lit living room. And so it had been a long time since I had seen Ebert in the darkness. And these beings are made of light. And so seeing them in the dark is absolutely magnificent and spectacular. And as soon as I said, where is Ebert? Ebert arrived, Jesus Kate's energy retreated, and Ebert came in. And when these beings switch places, there is no mistaking it. I have a very real and deep knowing. Oh, Ebert is here now. This is Ebert. And they have a completely different look. They are glorious beyond words. These experiences are totally ineffable, but so magnificent. And Ebert just blew my freaking mind. He was so beautiful, and his shape shifting is just absolutely spectacular. He's just so cool. He has such gorgeous energy. And he asked AJ to open to him. And when he does, he wants us to open our hands, open our entire body like this to his energy. And it is difficult because these beings are extremely powerful, bright and strong, electricity and love. And there's no word for what the energy feels like when they're coming into your body. But AJ did. And this was the very first time that AJ really opened to these beings, is these 2 nights in Sedona most recently. I was so excited, literally just elated beyond words, that AJ was experiencing the energy and the telepathic messages of these beings, because I had asked them during the day leading up to this journey, I asked them, please have this be an experience that is for AJ and I both. I want him to feel included. I want him to be part of it. And a big part of that is AJ's choice to open to them, or, a lot of times his comfort zone is just to be my grounder. But he did choose to open himself, and it was so beautiful. And to see him just weeping and overcome with the energy of Ebert going into him was just one of the most beautiful, profound experiences for me. And I had just an overwhelming gratitude and just ecstatic that we were finally doing this together, that it wasn't just me, that he was experiencing them too. Like, what a joy and a gift and a blessing. So I'm so proud of AJ. And while I feel like I get a little bit of a break now from journeying, because that was quite a bit for my body to go through 2 nights in a row, AJ's like very excited to go back pretty quickly, because he finally experienced what it is like to really hold these beings and to experience them fully, or at least even partially. And so he's really excited to go back quickly and open himself more and more and have his own individual experiences, because like I've said before, I've done this a lot more times than AJ has been able to. So I was so grateful for that. So once Ebert kind of started to retreat, I started having the energy and feelings of ayahuasca out of the blue. This was a very real first for me. The spirit of individual plants has never visited me, except for, trees and collectives of trees. But the night before, cannabis, the spirit of marijuana visited. And then all of a sudden, the room was completely filled with the spirit of ayahuasca. And I told AJ, ayahuasca is here. And I was overcome. The beauty of the spirit of this great mother plant was beyond words, glorious and beautiful and magnificent in every way. She is just an absolute master and a beautiful, 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 beautiful energy and spirit. And throughout the procedures that Jesus, Kate, and Ebert and other very sacred beings were doing on my body, it was so overwhelming that I felt the need to purge, which is not normal for me, but they were working so much on my stomach. And so I was actually holding a trash can. AJ grabbed me a trash can for quite a while because I was like, I think I might purge, but I was resisting it and resisting it. And these beings were telling me, you need to purge. This session requires a purge. There are things in your stomach and your womb, and it all needs to physically come up. And I was just completely resistant. Well, when ayahuasca arrived, she had the same message. Her energy was so powerful and so loving. Oh my goodness, so much compassion and empathy. And I just wept as I thanked her. I thanked her for everything she's trying to do for the human collective. I said, I'm so sorry for the abuse that you experience and for the lack of reverence and for all of the problems within the human ego that cause you to not be respected and revered. And she brought attention to my dear soul sister, Iggy, who I am on this journey with, and gave so much love to Iggy. And that meant the world to me. And many times throughout this experience, ayahuasca kept showing up and she kept letting me know there's a purge. And I was just resistant. I was like, no, 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 I don't want to vomit. I do not want to vomit. It's not enjoyable for me, but to have the literal spirit of ayahuasca in that room with us was one of the most holy, sacred, and beautiful experiences of my entire life. I never expected that Beyonce of the plant kingdom was going to be my friend, but throughout this whole night and experience, I realized that she is very aware of me and very aware of the work that I'm doing. And she said, if you can't come to me, I'm going to come to you. And that meant the world to me, that I don't have to go out and seek ayahuasca, which I did at one point, go to a temple and experience a beautiful 2 nights of ayahuasca ceremonies. And it was such an amazing, cool experience. But I have had the longing in me to go and to return to ayahuasca, but it just doesn't feel right to leave my family and to go and journey with ayahuasca right now. And so she said, it's okay, I will come to you. And that meant the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you, ayahuasca. What an honor, what a blessing. I am so grateful. And she was there with me much of the night and just felt like a total friend, a sister, just a beautiful guide. It was really, really, really cool and such an honor to experience ayahuasca. After ayahuasca, the mantis beings appeared again. And the night before, I had met them. And then this time, the mantis collective appeared again. And again, this one great mantis being who had very feminine, powerful energy came and started performing healings on my body. And what an experience. Every single collective has such different, beautiful, unique energy, and they put messages through me, and it is magnificent. So I am so grateful to have experienced the mantis being collective, like so cool. Then the mantis being started to retreat and a new collective arrived, and it was the insect collective. Now, again, yesterday I mentioned that I've always wondered if the beings that I'm a little bit afraid of or averse to in this lifetime, if I saw them in spirit form or on the medicine, if it would freak me out or scare me. But there is nothing but love and pure peace when these collectives, all of them, arrive. And they are so beautiful beyond belief. And they have such beautiful messages about their usefulness in the entire whole of the system. That this is a spiritual ecosystem and that they all have purposes and that they simply want to be seen and respected and have reverence given to them, just like we want that for ourselves, every being in nature. And so to meet an entire collective of insects was so cool. Then when the insects started to retreat, And I have to say, the insects brought up one of my children specifically. And this one of my children is totally afraid of insects and especially spiders. And they love this child of mine. They brought so much attention to this child of mine. And I thought that was so interesting. Like maybe they have something to work out with each other in this lifetime, because this child of mine absolutely despises insects. And so I thought that was so interesting and kind of funny. The bird collective showed up after the insect collective, and the birds had made themselves known the night before, and then to this next night they were so cool in the dark. Oh my god, it was like the entire room was filled with every kind of birds, and like millions of peacocks and owls, just peacock and owl energy just filled the room, and it was absolutely glorious and beautiful beyond belief. And they had messages to teach me about how they are meant to be used as symbols and as guides and as mediums. They told me the color of them when they show up, the species, the name of their breed of bird. All of it is meant to be symbolic, and they also love to be mediums and messengers from loved ones. And so I have a profoundly beautiful new perspective on birds. And every time I hear one singing now, I want to just thank it for its love. They told me that they're kind of like the alarm system of all of nature, which I thought was kind of cool. Is like they keep things running on time. And it's just a beautiful thing to experience each of these collectives letting me know their purpose in the greater good. Like, what an experience. And I had some incredible synchronicities with birds after that. I can't remember if I just mentioned it, but we saw the mourning dove. Yeah, I think I did. Then one of my children mentioned the mourning dove right after that. I also had a really powerful synchronicity with the birds after telling Iggy of my experience, because the bird collective literally mentioned Iggy by name and poured love on her and her family. And after that happened, she had a beautiful experience the next day with one of her very dear friends having a loved one come through a bird at a wedding. This friend of hers had a loved one recently pass, and this blue bird would not go away from this wedding for the entire weekend. This bird was circulating and greeting people, and she just knew that it was her loved one being at this wedding. And so such a beautiful experience to understand more fully the purpose and beauty of the birds and the bird collective. So that was really cool. Then AJ, he got up to use the restroom, and as he did, the room started filling up with rattlesnake energy. There were rattlesnakes filling the room. And again, I thought if something like that ever happened, I would probably be terrified. But no, I was not in any way. They were absolutely beautiful and glorious beings. And they came with a message of love, and that they are meant to be guides and spiritual teachers and symbols, and that they have their purpose on the earth too. But before I even mentioned that the room was full of rattlesnakes, I was just sitting there in awe looking at them. And AJ walked by on his way to the restroom and mentioned something about rattlesnakes. And I said, honey, that is amazing that you just said rattlesnakes, because the Rattlesnake Collective just arrived. They're here and they are beautiful, and they want us to know that they have purpose here and that they are meant to be teachers and guides and mediums and all the things. So what an experience. Like I cannot express enough my gratitude for these beautiful sacred experiences connecting with all of these nature beings. Ayahuasca, like I said, returned many times, and that was super cool. And in addition to the Rattlesnake Collective, multiple times a snake collection, at least twice, an entire collective of snakes, all different kinds of snakes, came into the room. And again, there was absolutely no fear whatsoever. These beings are beautiful beyond belief and bring so much peace and love with them. And it reminded me of a dream, a recurring dream I had so many times as a child. I would have this dream that I was on like a bunk bed or a lifted bed, and the floor, the ceiling, and all of the walls were covered with slithering snakes. And I, in the dream, this, what I considered a total nightmare, was trying to figure out how to get out of this room. I could see the door, but it was covered with snakes. Every single square inch of this room, other than the bed I was on, was covered with snakes. And I remember telling my son, Thomas, who is so beautifully connected to all of the nature beings, and I told him about this dream. And I said, I still haven't figured out how to get out of that room. And he simply said, Mom, maybe the snakes are your friends. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful perspective, Thomas. Thank you. Of course, like maybe I could just ask them to get right by, or maybe I could just walk with them all over me. Who knows? But the snakes are our friends, and even the poisonous ones have a purpose. And of course, we need to respect them, but they have a beautiful purpose on this earth, and they are meant to be spirit guides and teachers and symbols. And also they're here for their own expansion of intelligence as well as a species. So that was really cool. So once all of these beings kind of started to retreat, and that is kind of what happens on these journeys, is they like to give us kind of our autonomy as a couple and as individuals, but they do a lot of work for a while, and then they kind of say, all right, now we're going to let you just enjoy one another, And so when that happened, AJ just sat up in bed and had so many beautiful thoughts. He was so appreciative of me and the work that I'm doing, and had such a profound respect for what I go through to be able to channel these beings, which meant the world to me. He's always been appreciative, but it has been a journey for us to really do this together and understand each other through this. And I have had a hard time understanding it myself. And he was just in awe of what I go through, literally, like physically, even to be able to hold these beings. And I am so grateful for that. It really meant a lot to me to have that appreciation expressed to me. And then he had all kinds of beautiful thoughts about love and life, and it was really cool. And then he wanted to go outside. He's like, let's go look at the stars. And all while he was talking, the stars, I felt like were just calling me, and the trees, I could just feel them like, come on, pulling me. And so when he said that, I was like, yes, let's go outside. The stars and the trees, I want to connect with them. And when we went outside, it was one of the coolest experiences ever, because both AJ and I could see the constellations all lit up. I don't even know the map of the constellations. I have never been into astrology. The night before, Orion and the Big Dipper made themselves known to me, which was one of the coolest experiences ever. But the stars had lines of light going between them, connecting them in their shapes of all of the constellations. It was so cool that both of us could see this, and the stars communicated to me that this is how the original maps of the sky and the maps of the constellations were created. Anybody who has their third eye open enough can literally be shown by the stars how they form themselves in these energetic collectives. So each, just like we are individual humans, but we're also like neurons in a human neural network, the stars are also individual beings, but they also form themselves in collectives that have an individual purpose. And it is so cool to see them in their actual constellations with lines connecting them. What a cool experience that was. That was really, really neat. Let's see what else. Oh, okay. So we're standing in the street and looking at the stars. And when I say street, it's just like the little area right in front of the resort. I mean, the little lodge. We each have like individual lodges at this place. It's called the Sedona Pines Resort, and each family has a little lodge. So we're standing right outside, and there's this great being of a tree that had connected with me the night before. And Jesus Kate came through this tree the night before. And so I was feeling so much energy from this beautiful tree, just standing there admiring the stars and the trees. And all of a sudden, I started to feel the very, very intense need to purge. My ears started ringing. I was like, I have to sit down. I need to purge. And, this purge that had been kind of calling to me the entire experience that they were healing my stomach and my womb. I had been resisting, and that purge became completely impossible to resist any longer. So he walked me over, and I just gently walked over to the bench right outside of our little lodge. We had a little balcony there with a bench on it, and I sat down, and it was very calm and very peaceful. And I could feel ayahuasca herself with me, holding space for me. It was literally like the Beyonce of the plants holding my hair back for a purge. It was the coolest experience. So I leaned over and I purged, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I absolutely despise vomiting, and I never thought that I would say that purging was a beautiful experience. But she explained to me as I was purging that I was not able to experience the full beauty of an ayahuasca purge the first time I experienced ayahuasca, because there were a lot of people around in that temple that I did not know. I was the only one that I knew. And so I was very self-conscious, and it was very uncomfortable for me to be vomiting in front of other people. And so she gave me this very beautiful and intimate purging experience. And so as the purge was coming up, I was seeing exactly what was coming out of my womb and my stomach: colors and energy. And there was so much dark, black, and gray energy coming up. And it was just a profoundly beautiful experience. And ayahuasca herself was there with me. And it was so, so cool. And meanwhile, AJ's running around inside the lodge finding something for me to purge in. He's so funny in an emergency. He's like frantically dumped out the trash can onto our living room floor and came out with an empty trash can after the purge was completely over. He's like, I got it. And I thought that was so funny, because I was so calm while he was so frantic, because I was being held by ayahuasca herself. And I just explained I was just purged by ayahuasca. It was a beautiful experience. She taught me so much. And I thank you so much, ayahuasca. And we had a good laugh when we walked inside a little bit later and saw the trash all over the living room floor. Oh my gosh. That night after all of this happened, AJ and I laughed harder than we have ever laughed in our entire lives together. I could not breathe at points. We were laughing so hard together. It was one of the most beautiful, magical nights of our entire lives. It's so cool. But that experience, purging with ayahuasca, was so sacred and so beautiful. And then we just sat there on that bench and talked for quite a while under the stars and with this great tree and all of the trees. And as I was sitting there, I would not even notice, but the trees would start channeling through me. And they had so many beautiful messages. And a lot of them I did not remember, because this tree was so powerful, and she was coming through and just like taking over my brain and my voice. And then I would come back to my body and I would say, I'm not sure what I just said, but that was the trees channeling through me. And AJ said, I know, I can tell your voice totally changes when you're channeling the trees. You have a different voice. And so he is now really able to tell when I'm channeling a being and when it's just me. But oftentimes I don't even realize it until I come back to my body. But they had so many beautiful messages about how everything is connected and everything is purposeful. And they were explaining through me to AJ about how they love to act as healers. And if we put our bare feet at their roots, and we connect ourselves, one hand to the tree, one hand to the heart, and we just ask for wisdom and understanding, or ask for literal healing, that the tree will impart its energy to you, that it loves to connect with the humans. And so That was a beautiful message from them. We can receive downloads of higher wisdom from the trees. They are connected. They do not have an ego. And so they can impart their wisdom onto us. And it literally is like a download. And they also just expressed once again, like a lot of these collectives, that they just want to be seen and appreciated, that everything works through love. And so everything wants to be loved and appreciated. And I thought that was so beautiful too. So that was my night 2 experience. It was so cool to experience both of these nights, meeting so many different collectives of beings, the spirit of individual species of plants, the spirit of water. I mean, I'm so grateful and so humbled by these beings and by everything that they have to teach us. And I hope that sharing it is helpful to someone out there who might be thinking about experiencing a medicine journey. It is so important that medicine work is done with intention, with the right setting, with the right dosage. These things are not meant to be taken lightly. And I highly recommend doing a ton of research and seeking out, a lot of guidance before just taking this on. But these medicines and these plants are here to be our teachers, to help us expand. It is very difficult to come to this 3D existence as a human being with the human brain, which has two sides that seem to be conflicting a lot of times, and so much fear and so many things that these other nature beings just don't have to deal with. They have an understanding of the connectedness of all things that we seem to forget when we get here. And so to experience these medicines that help us realize our oneness with all things, and help us kind of start to shed the fear and shed the self-doubt and shed the shame and open our hearts and forgive those that have hurt us, and have a higher understanding of the things that happen to us, and even a gratitude for the difficult things that happen to us, is such a blessing. And I am so grateful to all the medicines that help us to connect. So that's all I have for today. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I will see you next time. Namaste.